Hello, my name is April Yost, and I will be presenting the dissertation defense on Jordan Brown's research. Jordan Brown's research is called Missing the Mark, a qualitative analysis on how college students perceive student loan affordability. His research examines the historical and current trends of student loan debt, along with analyzing how students perceive the federal student loan process. The federal student loan system does not adequately prepare students to take out student loan debt. Brown conducted this research to discover how students approach and decide how much they should finance through the federal student loan program. A look into the information and understanding that the students had prior to signing, as well as the perception of expectations of financial stability after graduation, will assist Brown in determining what changes can be made to better the system and the student experience. This study will identify themes and patterns in the understanding and perception of students who have student loans through the federal government. It will assist students in making better decisions and planning when taking out student loans. It will also assist professionals to develop programs to help students understand the positive and negative aspects of student loan debt and its long-term impacts on their financial well-being. The goal of this research is to gain insight into the student experience and provide information before taking out loans. Brown seeks to understand what components of the process students are struggling with so that he may provide recommendations to better improve the student loan process and to educate students on all aspects of the process. Brown structured his research around 4 key questions. These research questions are as follows. 1. How familiar are students with the student loan process? 2. Do students determine the amount of loan debt they can afford, and if so, how so? What are their income expectations upon graduation? Does student loan debt cancellation impact their perceptions of loan debt? After conducting a literature review, Brown was able to see that most studies were set in grounded theory, believed to be because of the flexibility and ability to gather various information through this method. The results of this study confirm many of the findings that were found within the research from the literature review. The study is qualitative in nature, conducted through survey and interview methods. The researcher garnered insight into the specific information that students think about when deciding if they can afford student loans. This interview also analyzed the thought processes of individual students as they correlated with research questions. This qualitative research technique helps to recognize patterns that may not have been identified through other methods. Brown conducted several interviews, which were audio recorded and transcribed. Brown worked alone to ensure consistency in all aspects of the study. He completed the interviews, the transcriptions, and coded all of the data. Within the results in the data analysis, interview questions on how students determine how much student loan debt they can afford, what their understanding of the process was, and what financial expectations were held for post-graduation, along with how much students expected to make in a year after graduation, were all analyzed and organized in correlation of the research questions. That's a mouthful. The volunteers thought that loans would be affordable after graduation. They failed to provide knowledge of the process. They had not conducted an affordability analysis based on future anticipated earnings, and every individual surveyed expected to make at least $100,000 after graduation. As hypothesized, Brown was correct with his theories and is able to demonstrate the correlation between his ideas and the research results. Suggestions for improved practices for both student loan offices and students to better provide and understand the entirety of the student loan process before, during, and after graduation were provided after the conclusion of the results. Concerns of affordability are a recurring theme within higher education and is further supported by the findings of this study. Students are concerned about the process, but prove to have little knowledge about all of the components of the student loan process. Brown was able to substantiate his hypothesis by connecting the results of the study back to his original theories. He focused his interview questions on how students determine how much student loan debt they can afford, what financial expectations were held for post-graduation, and what effects, if any, have student loan cancellation discussion had on their perception of student loan debt. Brown then compared his data to that of prior and current research and suggested improved practices for both student loan offices and students to better provide and understand the entirety of the student loan process before, during, and after graduation. Limitations listed in Brown's study were that he believed that borrowers have limited information on the loan program, and that this limited knowledge would lead to overborrowing and a lack of planning for financial future. This would, of course, lead into a lack of planning for repayment, resulting in dire financial dismay. These assumptions may make research difficult if Brown is not unbiased in his findings. Well, it turns out that Brown was correct in these findings. The qualitative research permits the opportunity to change the direction of the study, which can be beneficial in situations where there are many assumptions that are made. Fortunately, Brown did not have to do this, as his assumptions were correct. Another limitation to Brown's study is not factoring how changes within the loan rates or system and how they may impact borrowers. Institutions that receive federal funding may have fluctuations in aid, which also impacts student loan availability and borrowing rates. Brown specifically looks at students who have gone through the current federal loan borrowing program, but does not consider those that fall into a different category and those that have different experiences. These all serve as limitations to his study. Brown recommends continued research be conducted in the forms of a longitudinal study that focuses on student expectations based on experiences in the job market and other job areas. He also recommends studies to be done with a larger group to gain more information from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. Brown also says to create alternatives for existing repayment plans to see if that may impact borrowing habits and the plans that students would select for repayment. Student loans are a necessity for millions of Americans hoping to solidify their credentials and improve their futures with college degrees. The loans are provided to students as young as 18 years and guaranteed by American taxpayers, which causes policy development in higher education to have far-reaching implications for personal finances and the national economy. At this time, I would like to invite the audience to ask any clarifications or any other questions that they might have at this time. Thank you.